that. Okay. Well, today we're going to talk about Barbara O'Neill's sustaining principles. This is the way she started out her conference. And I really, really, really appreciate how she expects that we are living in a way that make us healthy and heal our bodies versus choose a bunch of bad habits and hope there's a pill out there to undo it, right? So, I want to start out by saying that because Barbara O'Neill has gained a lot of popularity, there are a lot of fake and kind of pirated stuff out there that you want to avoid. So I put this book on here because this is the book that she wrote. I believe it's like $50 on Amazon. It is not cheap. It is really great. And there are a whole bunch of books that are like the remedies of Barbara O'Neill and the recipes of Barbara O'Neill, written not by Barbara O'Neill, that are available on Amazon. So just be really, really careful. The other thing that I've seen a lot of is people will come to me and they'll say, "Hey, I saw this reel of Barbara O'Neill talking about this particular product." And she does not endorse specific product brands on social media. There are so many fake AI videos of her out there that it's really uh, disappointing. But you know that she's good if people are trying to create videos that are not even her. So this book I would recommend, but anything other than that, I would not. The other thing I'll say is that Barbara is very herbal based. She recommends teas, she recommends herbs, and if we love essential oils, and so there are absolutely essential oil versions of what she is trying to achieve. So she's got a colon tea. You guys digest then it's great. We all know that. She has like a lung herbal blend. Just use breathe, right? So, I'm not necessarily advocating for her specific herbal remedies, but what we're going to talk about today are her principles to live a healthy life. So, these are straight from my notes from the conference, and my notes are going to be in the back, and I'm going to send this link to you. So you'll be able to get this information. You don't necessarily have to copy all this down if you don't want to. Okay, so we're going to start with the basic principles that the body will heal itself if you give it the right conditions. One of the things that's being talked about right now is maybe rethinking autoimmune disease, for example. When we talk about autoimmune, we villainize the immune system. And it's very likely that autoimmune diseases happen because of leaky gut or because of parasitic or bacterial infections in the body or mold or heavy metals, right? The body is actually trying to do its job and get rid of things. So, given the right conditions, the body does want to heal itself. God designed each of us to be our own doctor. You know best. And that is, I think, from Barbara's frustration with the healthcare system and doctors really not explaining things to people, but just telling them what to do. And therefore, people not having the confidence to follow their own intuition, to kind of do what they believe is right. So just having the confidence to do that. If your body speaks, listen. If you don't listen, the body will scream. Damage is being done when the body screams. Um, so pain is a way of that happening, right? And that could be for physical reasons or emotional reasons. We've talked about that for a long time. Document your case. Write down what has happened in your life and in your body. Be your own best detective, Barbara will often say, and see if you can find out what the history of this is. One example of this is, I think we'll talk about this in a few slides also, but um, uh, the there will sometimes it will happen that I will have somebody come to me and they will start describing all their diagnoses and all their pain and all their kind of situations that affect them. And there are times when I will very gently try to say, I'm assuming that you have a history of childhood abuse, of trauma and abuse in your childhood. And the answer is often yes, because that is part of understanding how this whole thing started. What is the root cause of my current situation? And again, that could be physical, that could be emotional. And then Barbara talks about God's government is one of freedom. And the reason she talks about that is because she does not have freedom to do what she wants to do in her home country of Australia. They have outlawed her from speaking and teaching because she speaks against what the government wants from their citizens. And so she wants you to know that freedom is an expected part of life. Okay, so we're going to go over conditions that are required for optimal health. These are healthy habits that we have throughout the day, throughout the week, in order to create the healthiest body we can. Number one is sunshine. Vitamin D deficiency is one of the causes of skin cancer. Sunscreen is a cause of basal cell cancer specifically. And the connection is that UVB rays convert cholesterol to vitamin D, and vitamin sunscreen blocks UVB rays. We actually need UVB rays in order to create a healthy immune system. Vitamin D, we know, is called vitamin D, but it also functions like a hormone in our body. It tells our immune system what to do. So we need the sunshine in order for our immune system to work well. The incidence of skin cancer has risen drastically since the onset of sunscreen. Now, we all know what happens when we spend our whole lives inside and then we find a beautiful sunny day and we go outside and spend 8 or 10 hours out there and we're surprised when our skin is shocked by that. So the goal is to not only enjoy sunshine every single day so that our skin is used to that exposure, but we also want to recognize that this doesn't necessarily mean that we need sunshine between the hours of 2 and 4 in the afternoon when it is the strongest. Enjoying the sun at sunrise, at sunset, that helps a lot with our circadian rhythms. Enjoying the sunshine little by little, if that's what you need to do, is important. I know that here up in the north, I always need to reacclimate my skin when June comes around, and by August, my skin is used to that again. So that is important. There's also, it's worth noting that viewing the sunshine through windows or through glasses or through even sunglasses affects our body. So the sunshine that comes through our eyes will help our body create things that help protect our skin from getting burned. And so if we're wearing sunglasses, which listen, I'm a big fan of preventing the wrinkles around my eyes, okay? I completely understand this. But it kind of sends mixed messages to our body through our eyes of how much sun we're actually being exposed to. So there is something to be said for maybe wearing a hat without sunglasses, just so that our brain is sending proper signals to the rest of our body about sunshine. The next healthy habit is water. Barbara recommends 64 ounces a day, small amounts all day long. if we take a very dry plant and we're trying to water it and we dump a gallon of water on it all at one time, it's just going to run through. It's actually not going to soak up. And our body is the same. So putting small amounts of water all throughout the day, making sure by the end of the day it's at least 64 ounces. Low back pain could be dehydration. What a wonderful example that is of something very, very simple that can solve a problem that can from time to time plague us all. And then the habit of drinking your water in between meals, not with your meals. The reason for that is because drinking water during our meal can dilute our gastric juices. Most of us run not as acidic as we need in our stomach anyway. And so making that problem worse doesn't help us digest. And so drinking water in between meals. This is also important to really help us differentiate between what is thirst and what is hunger. So many times, I think when we sit down to eat, I'm so guilty of this at a restaurant. If someone keeps filling my water glass, I'm going to keep drinking. And then I'm realizing, gosh, I'm just dehydrated. So making sure that we're drinking a lot of water in between our meals is the proper way to do that. The next condition for optimal health is sleep, particularly sleep before midnight. Melatonin and serotonin release between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. Our brain has what's called a glymphatic system, and a glymphatic system is a system of cleaning out the brain while we sleep. It's taken after the lymphatic system, which is outside of the brain. And that mainly happens between 10 p.m. and midnight. And so we want 8 hours of sleep and we want to go to bed between 9 and 10 p.m. If you are someone that does not have that habit, you can try to go to bed 30 minutes earlier every 2 weeks until you get to the time that you want. There's a book that she recommends called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. One of the things I learned about Barbara is she is very, very, very well read. When you see my notes, everything highlighted in red is a book that she recommends. And I would love to just sit and read as much as she does. Maybe I will make that a goal of mine in life. Less than 6 hours a night doubles your risk of depression. So that's just in terms of the number of hours you sleep. So 8 hours is important, but when you go to sleep is also important. Another healthy habit for a healthy life is trusting God. This is emotional, mental, and spiritual. 90% of disease starts in the mind. This is not surprising to me, but also not something I learned in nursing school. I can tell you that much. So our perspective matters. If we say it's good, it's good. If we say it's bad, it's bad. An example of this that I gave in class on Saturday is a roller coaster. There are people in my family that would say roller coasters are so good. There are people in my family that would say roller coasters are not good. And my body is going to do something very different on a roller coaster than my son's because he loves that roller coaster. I think that's the last few moments I will spend on this earth while I'm on that roller coaster. And so my stress hormones are going to look very different than his. So trusting that God created our bodies wisely, trusting that God has a plan, trusting that our bodies want to heal themselves, focusing on the good. What we focus on gets bigger. And so putting our mind where we want our body to go is really important. There is no need for us to be chained to a painful past. That painful past could likely be affecting your health today. And so whatever that looks like to disconnect our current physical state of affairs from that painful experience is unique person to person. And we serve a solution God. We serve a God that has a plan and the ability to heal us. Okay, abstaining is our next one. Toxins, chemicals, and bad fabrics. Nylon, acrylic, and polyester. She refers to those as nap, and she says we won't nap well if you're wearing those fabrics. This I have always talked about how linen and wool are higher frequency fabrics than most others, and that's why they are healthy for us. God told the Israelites in the Old Testament to wear linen and wool. And what I learned, though, is that other good fabrics that come from trees are viscose, rayon, and modal. So that was news to me. As I was actually in Pennsylvania at the conference, I did a little bit of shopping and was disappointed to see how many cute clothes are actually made of a blend of nylon, acrylic, and polyester. You can actually find all of the bad things together. So, this was actually a good lesson for me because my family skis a lot in the winter, and two of my favorite base layers, I looked at the tag and it was like 90% polyester, right? Like not a good thing in the mix. And actually, yesterday I went to a store to try to find some base layers for my son, who is heading out on Saturday to ski in Montana. And not only was it very difficult for me to find anything that wasn't almost entirely polyester, but I found a base layer. It was the kind in a box, and it said merino wool. I mean, they were totally mismarketing this because when you looked at the tag, it was 50% polyester, 30% merino wool, and 20% something else that was just really unfortunate. So, Woolx and Smartwool are some really good brands. If you've got other brands that you like, put them in the chat. I was surprised to see we were looking on Amazon. There are some other like almost 100% wool brands on Amazon, but they are expensive. You do just have to know that you're paying for that. I've actually found some really great like vintage wool sweaters on Facebook Marketplace. And I found a really great cashmere wool blend sweater on Poshmark for $40. I mean, you can really find some great things. If you love thrifting, I mean, this would be a fun hunt for you, right? Um, she totally recommends washing and hanging your clothes on a line, that airing the clothes out, getting whatever chemicals they've been exposed to out. The sunshine is so good for your fabrics. Cotton is a good fabric. Buy organic if possible. The other thing I'll say about linen is one of the things on my list to do is to get linen sheets someday. And but again, I would recommend that you not go by what you see on social media. There's brands that pop up that when you Google them, you realize that brand is actually rather fake, and the stuff probably comes from a place that you wouldn't choose. And so just find a really, really reputable brand. Don't go with what's least expensive or on sale on Facebook, please. Okay, sugar. Barbara says choose your hard when it comes to sugar, and truly everything. And what that means is sugar is really easy to eat, and the hard that you will face is dealing with the consequences of that inflammatory insulin spiking in your body. Just recognizing that we either choose to do hard things on the front end, or we choose to deal with the hard of the consequences if we made really easy choices. So avoiding sugar is hard. Dealing with the diagnosis that was created from sugar intake is also hard. There is no easy in it, for sure. Caffeine leaches minerals from the bones, and causes disruptions in neurotransmitters. Caffeine also overworks the adrenals. So again, if you have healthy bones, you have great brain health, and you are not dealing with the effects of stress, then go ahead and drink your caffeine. But if any of those are part of your story, maybe avoiding caffeine is the hard work that you want to do. Avoiding alcohol. Alcohol is a toxic poison and it does kill brain cells. Avoiding drugs, and by this, she actually meant pharmaceuticals. She pointed out that physician, I believe in Latin, means educator, and just how far we have come from physicians educating us. Physicians have absolutely become experts in pharmaceuticals. And avoiding tobacco, no need to go into that. I think we can all agree. And as we've talked in the past, avoiding tobacco, I would say, is different than avoiding nicotine, right? Nicotine can have its place in keeping us healthy. So, okay, next one is inhale through the nose. Breathe through your nose, eat and sing and talk through your mouth. When we breathe through our nose, the air is purified, it's warmed, it's humidified, and it's pressurized to go into the lungs. When we breathe through our nose, we fill the whole of our lungs. When we breathe through our mouth, we fill the top third of our lungs. So this can especially become a problem for people who maybe have a history of pneumonia or bronchitis or some sort of damage to the bottoms of the lungs because air isn't moving through them well. Breathing through our nose oxygenates our blood much more than breathing through our mouth. Our body will actually adjust its carbon dioxide levels to what we give it. And carbon dioxide and oxygen kind of go hand in hand. If we breathe through our mouth on a very constant basis, we actually blow off more carbon dioxide than what we want, and it affects our body's ability to oxygenate our cells. So we can become cellularly hypoxic by breathing through our mouth. So consider mouth tape. You don't actually need to buy the fancy tape. You can just buy like foam tape from the first aid department. And I actually have been trying this. My husband says I breathe through my mouth all night long. And I try to like position my hand to keep my mouth shut and everything else. So I tried this. And one of the things I had thought about was if someone's been breathing through their mouth for a long enough time and you kind of take that away and force breathing through the nose, the body can actually have moments of feeling like it's suffocating. And we know that that's not logically true, but because of the relative carbon dioxide level, that can feel that way. And so I was interested to see if I was going to rip the tape off in the middle of the night. And I woke up in the morning and the tape was gone, but I'm not exactly sure when I took it off. So this is definitely something that you should try if you're curious about whether this is something that you need to add into your routine. So one of the root causes of a generation of mouth breathers is under breastfeeding. Bottles don't require as much muscle usage as breastfeeding does. Breastfeeding requires development of facial muscles in order to pull the milk out, whereas bottles don't require as much work. I remember when I went back to work and my kids were getting breastfed when I was not at work, but they were getting bottle fed when I was at work. And eventually they just figured out, hey, this breastfeeding thing is way too hard. It's just easier to use bottles. So I'm gonna, tell mom, no thanks, give me the bottle. And so under breastfeeding can underdevelop the facial muscles and that are actually required to keep the mouth closed. And then wisdom teeth removal actually contribute to a collapse of the jaw structure, and that affects facial muscularization as well. Barbara recommends babies should be breastfed exclusively until molars come in, which could be 22 months old. So this breastfed exclusively does not only mean breast and not bottle, it also means not any food. Um, so that was something that I had not heard before, but again, it makes a whole lot of sense. We certainly have developed into a culture of convenience. And I think this is just part of the fallout of that. Okay, next is nutrition. Do not eat devitalized food. Devitalized food can mean ultra processed foods. It can also mean putting foods in a microwave and taking the nutrition away from foods through that heating process. Again, convenience, right? We all know that we could heat up our food in a cast iron pan or in an oven. It's just so much easier and quicker in a microwave. And so we're talking about lots of different things here today. My intention is not for you to do all of them today. My intention is for you to think, okay, what's the easiest thing for me to do, or what's the best thing for me to do, and start there. In terms of nutrition, Barbara recommends 2 meals a day. The reason for that is because then your stomach has the ability to have enough gastric juices in order to actually digest that when we're grazing all throughout the day. It never gives our pancreas a rest, and it never gives the digestion process a rest. She says that when we eat, our body works for 2 to 3 hours actually digesting that meal, which makes a whole lot of sense. So at each meal, protein, fiber, and or protein, fat, and 7 different fibers. Fiber is plants. So this could mean fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, grains, beans, and legumes. 7 different plants at every meal. That protein can also be a plant protein. It doesn't necessarily have to be an animal protein. And fat, we're looking at healthy fats, walnuts, avocados, olive oil, things like that. And ideally, you're doing 50% raw, 50% cooked. So this could be a soup with a fruit salad on the side. This could be a salad with part of the vegetables roasted, part of them raw. Um, Lots of different options here to make that happen. And then moderation in all good things. So this is not moderation in all things. This is moderation in all good things. I had to stop and think about what she was saying, because I think we're so used to moderation in all things. But here we're talking about moderation in all good things. So basically, I think another way to say this is variety, right? Have a lot of variety. If you love avocados, great, but don't have that be your only source of fat. Another way that she explained this was how different species of apples serve to feed different specific microbes in our gut microbiome. And so the more variety you have, the more healthy your gut is, truly. And then last but not least is exercise. Movement is life. And when we really think about it, this is true. We know when we have someone who in our life who we kind of watch the dying process, the less they move, the more close they are to the end of their life. And so just recognizing that even as we go into winter, figuring out what this looks like for you. This morning we actually had an ice storm here in Michigan, which was rather out of the blue and surprising, and that impacted my morning walk, right? And so maybe having a rebounder or having a treadmill or having some other way of creating movement is important. Parking far away in the parking lot. My daughter has decided that she's doing the turkey trot for Thanksgiving morning. And I've always admired the turkey trot families. And apparently we are now one of them. And I thought, hey, there's no reason to complain. There's no reason to complain. All of us can walk 3 miles before we eat our turkey. So, building those things into the fabric of your family is a great idea. Muscles know no age. And I love this concept because there's so many areas of our body that just function differently as we age, but the muscle cell is the same from 20 years old to 80 years old. It's just a matter of how much you have. And so making sure that you are focusing on building and maintaining that muscle mass is really important. So I've created a QR code for the full notes and recipes. I'm actually going to put that in the chat here a minute, and then I will answer any questions you have. Hold on one second.